Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, Tasmanians are being warned to brace themselves for another COVID case after a 31-year-old infected traveller escaped hotel quarantine this week and entered the community. So far, more than 50 contacts have been identified, but Public Health is confident anyone who is a risk to the public is now in quarantine.
It was this Bridgewater address where the COVID-positive man fled after evading security at Hobart's Travelodge hotel. It's understood his partner, her sister and niece are now in quarantine as more details emerge about how he managed to escape on Tuesday afternoon.
We know that they were picked up by a friend and taken by private transport to the northern suburbs of Hobart, and we know who that person is, that they are in quarantine.
2 students at East Derwent Primary who are known to the man are among those identified as primary close contacts, and 2 more from Blackmans Bay Primary who were on the JQ715 flight on Monday night. So far, 38 primary close contacts have been identified, 16 of those from the Jetstar flight on Monday, 11 from the 2 households he visited on Tuesday, and a number of casual contacts at Hobart Airport, among them 13 police officers and 4 public health workers. Each have so far returned a negative COVID test, and no further exposure sites have been identified.
This response has been rapid. I believe it's thorough, and we've contained the highest risk people associated with this case and their movement into Tasmania and briefly within Tasmania.
Is potentially going to be another positive case, but our expectation would be that that would be in quarantine.
Police say the man had twice been rejected to enter Tasmania, and the only reason he was able to enter hotel quarantine is because he boarded the last flight to Hobart.
He sought to travel to Tasmania stating he was relocating. He did not provide sufficient evidence to validate the claim that he was relocating to Tasmania, and on that basis he was rejected. So
far, 600 people have booked in for a vaccine at a pop-up centre in Brighton today as they try to protect themselves from any exposure to the virus.
Our reporter Ainsley Kosh joins us in the studio. Now, Ainsley, do we have any information about how this man managed to escape the Travelodge facility?
No, we don't, Kim. That's currently being investigated by Public Health. What we do know is that additional CCTV cameras were installed earlier today, including more security staff to monitor everyone in quarantine, and the same goes for other facilities around the state. We know that Kevlar Security Solutions has been contracted by the Department of Communities to monitor Travelodge, and the company told us today they have very sensitive security measures in place. The Premier indicated earlier at a press conference that there isn't expected to be any changes to the company's contract following this incident, and that for the most part the state's hotel quarantine system is working.
We've had around 13,500 people through our quarantine hotels, of which there have been 3 breaches, 2 of which have entered the community. This is one of those. This happens very, very infrequently.
The Premier also says our vaccination rollout is gathering pace, and just an update on the mobile Pfizer bus set to roll out to regional and remote areas, Kim. We have confirmation it will visit places like Westbury, Strawn and Beaconsfield from Monday next week.
OK, thank you, Ainsley, there for keeping us up to date. Well, debate on controversial gaming laws has begun in Parliament. The legislation aims to end federal groups' monopoly on the state's gambling licences. But activists say harm minimisation measures for problem gamblers don't go far enough.
Pokies protesters donning masks with the faces of the Premier and opposition leader as new gaming laws are debated in Parliament. Robert Creshill faced poker machine addiction. Now he's advocating for stronger harm minimisation measures.
I was short of a bit of cash, so I had what I had left in my pocket, I put in because I needed a little bit more. And unfortunately, and I mean it really, unfortunately I won $35.
His addiction leaving him broken.
This amazing hypnotic machine had me for the next 15 years, until I got to the point where I'd been evicted from my home.
Protesters heckling Peter Gutwein as he left Parliament for a press conference today, addressing media backing in the government's legislation.
I would be my view that this legislation will pass the lower house, whether it's this evening or on the first day that we resume.
A series of amendments will be moved throughout the evening. Labor pushing for the inclusion of a card-based system for poker machines and facial recognition to help monitor those who have self-excluded. Others arguing that won't go far enough.
Thousands and thousands of Tasmanians will be hurt by this bill for generations, and that's what the Liberal and Labor parties in this place will be voting for.
I'm about harm minimisation. I could not care less if poker machine barons lose money. I do care, however, that we have people in the community losing their lives and their livelihoods.
Both the Greens and independent Christy Johnston pushing for slower spin speeds and lower maximum bets for poker machines. Activists urging the government and Labor to get on board.
Today's D-Day for people who are being harmed by pokers in Tasmania. Today's D-Day for the Labor Party, who've promised to help those people and seem to be turning their backs on them.
Political reporter Meg Sides joins us now from outside Parliament House. Good evening, Meg. Now, the debate is expected to go late into the evening.
That's right, Kim. The lower house didn't start on the legislation until after 3 p.m. Now, the bill itself has almost 250 pages. The Greens have already flagged they have around 70 amendments they'll be looking to make. Christy Johnston has roughly 15, the opposition indicating they'll have a handful as well. Now, it is a lot to get through in one evening and has the potential to be extended through to a second day when Parliament resumes. This is what the Finance Minister and Shadow Finance Minister had to say this afternoon in Parliament.
The loser will be the federal group, which is estimated to be $20 million per annum worse off when its 50-year monopoly over gaming in Tasmania comes to an end on 30 June 2023.
My approach here will be attempt to be a pragmatic one. What can we practically achieve to make this bill better?
So, Kim, it will be a very late night for the MPs sitting in Parliament House behind me as they try to strike the right balance on this important legislation.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Meg. Meg Sides there outside Parliament House in Hobart. There has been a shock twist in the 43-year-old disappearance of Devonport woman Darlene Gitzma. A coroner announcing an inquest into the 1978 disappearance with a former partner labelled as a person of interest.
Leaving today's hearing, John Shepherd did his best to escape the cameras. But he couldn't hide from the fact he's now a person of interest in the disappearance and suspected homicide of Darlene Gitzma. A 43-year-old cold case revived, with a coronial inquest to be held this year. Ms Gitzma went missing on the night of October 23, 1978, last seen at her Best Street home. Her Holden Sunbeam found the next morning near the Devonport Oval. With no confirmed sighting since, police have found no evidence she had died by suicide, drowned or left the state. This inquest will focus heavily on Ms Gitzma and John Shepherd's relationship. Senior counsel assisting the coroner, Madeline Wilson, told the court Ms Gitzma had planned to leave Mr Shepherd, while family violence dominated their relationship. The inquest will take place in Launceston over 3 days, starting December 13. Mr Shepherd, his current wife Marlene and Ms Gitzma's daughter Catherine will be called as witnesses, along with other family members. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Police are appealing to the public for any information relating to a drowning death at Second Bluff Beach in Howrah on July 15 as they prepare a report for the coroner. Authorities would like to speak to witnesses at the Bellerive end of the beach on the morning of the man's death, particularly 2 men walking a dog and a woman. Anyone with information should contact police. The sisters of a woman who was allegedly murdered by her daughter in Launceston have given evidence in court. Natalie Ma is on trial over the 2019 death of 71-year-old Veronica Kostorfen.
Family and friends of Veronica Kostorfen took the stand today, giving an insight into the final years of her life. The 71-year-old was allegedly murdered at the hands of her daughter Natalie Ma in early October 2019. Pauline Robinson was asked whether her sister ever mentioned that she wanted to commit suicide, to which she replied, "No, I'm sure she would never do that." While her other sister, Lucinda Stewart, told the jury she once joked that maybe I'll just pop myself off or something like that. But Lucinda also stated that when she visited Miss Christophen in January 2019, she used to say to me, "I'm just so happy here." While the Crown alleges Miss Ma smothered her with a pillow, the defence says there could be alternative causes of death, including a medical condition, suicide, or by way of a house intruder. The prosecution and defence also questioned witnesses about Miss Christophen's smoking and drinking habits. She was in fact a heavy smoker. Yes, very. How many a day? She would usually finish one and a few minutes later she'd light up another one. Miss Christophen's friend Teresa McCreel said she was a very healthy lady. Miss Ma's ex-mother-in-law gave evidence about the accused and deceased relationship. She did say we never got along and that my mother was not a good mother to me. The jury also heard about Miss Christophen's love of learning. Her sisters say she was studying a PhD online through the Oxford University in England at the time of her death. They also told the court there would be times where she wouldn't speak to them on the phone for months because she was studying, but would remain in contact via text or email. Her meaning in life was to get a PhD. The trial will resume on Monday morning. Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmania News.
A Tasmanian sheepdog has mustered up a record price at auction. Bruno the Kelpie sold for a whopping $27,000, bringing his owners to tears.
There's nothing sheepish about Bruno. The confident Kelpie makes flocks fall into line.
But that hard farm dog, that's what people are after, that just general purpose farm dog that can work sheep, cattle, yards, paddock, and you don't have to change dogs, and they're just tough as nails.
Which is why he's a record breaker. Bruno shattered the top price for a Tasmanian sheepdog when he sold for $27,000 at auction in South Australia.
$12,000 we got to and I started crying. I think I got to $15,000 and then I can't remember much more.
Matt and Margie Johnson always knew Bruno was special, but they were worried he wouldn't sell because they didn't travel to Lucindale to demonstrate him in person.
Watching the dog work live is so much better than just watching something on video.
Even though he fetched an eye-popping price, the relentless worker was hard to let go.
He was tough, he was courageous, the sort of dog that would die for you.
The whip-cracking Kelpie's legacy lives on. Bruno's babies are safely in Matt and Margie's hands, continuing a 3-decade bloodline of champion canines stretching back to a high flyer.
And we bred a dog called Modra, and I called him Modra after Tony Modra.
Modra! That is the mark of the year.
I said, if he could back sheep like Tony Modra can take a mark, he'll be a superstar, and he did. He sort of put us on the map.
And they say Bruno always has your back. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
When it comes to sporting mascots, Champions, Fury, Mad Dogs and Hurricanes might not be household names, but they're front and centre for students at Brooks High School in Launceston. A new look for the school's sporting houses unveiled today, designed by Year 10 students.
I really love how they've turned out, and I think it's great we can leave these behind for everyone to enjoy for the years to come.
Liam went through 15 different designs for each house before settling on the final looks.
Alastair Clarkson has joined the fight for an AFL team in Tasmania. The former Hawks coach will spend the next 4 months in the US, visiting a number of professional clubs. He'll work on funding, stadium development and talent identification.
We've got to have a team from Tassie in our national comp, so that's a long way down the track. It needs a lot of research and a lot of preparation for that, but I'd like to play a little role in that in the next 12 months.
Clarkson's appointment will be for 6 months before the Commission and all 18 clubs cast a vote on a Tassie team. 14 pre-season NBL games and 2 WNBL matches are coming to Tasmania. The Jack Jumpers will be among 6 teams playing in the NBL Blitz pre-season series in Hobart, Launceston, Ulverston and Kingborough. Local players went through a skills crash course at Prospect High School today. The injured Will Magnay will likely miss the pre-season fixtures, but looks back fondly at playing in Ulverston for the Brisbane Bullets in previous years.
And when you get to the NBL, I guess you're playing in big stadiums and stuff like that. But it's always nice to kind of get back to your ground roots and play at a stadium where everyone's right on the sideline, right next to you. It's good fun.
The Launceston Tornadoes and Hobart Chargers will host clinics for young female basketballers when the WNBL games are played.
Good evening everyone. Rain across the state today with Launceston reaching 18 degrees, 15 in Burnie and Hobart and Devonport both 14. Flinders Island the top today of 19 degrees, 18 in Strawn, Smithton 17, King Island, Grove and Bushy Park all reaching 15 and 8 degrees in Lyowini. Extensive cloud can be seen streaming across Tasmania today from the northeast. And across Australia, cloud spirals around a low over southern South Australia with embedded thunderstorms, while a thick mid-level cloud band extends from the Coral Sea over Tasmania and to the south of South Australia. Tomorrow's chart shows a low over Tasmania with another to the northeast of the state. A high south of Western Australia extends a ridge over the mainland. Northeast to southeasterly winds tomorrow 10 to 20 knots. Winds elsewhere tending southeast to southwesterly, increasing to 20 to 30 knots. And there is a gale warning in place from Sandy Cape to Stanley for south to southwesterly winds, and a strong wind warning from southeast Cape to Sandy Cape. A moderate flood warning is current for the South Esk River, a minor flood warning for the North Esk and Macquarie Rivers, and a flood watch for the North and Northeast, Mersey, Huon, Derwent and Southeast River catchments. Showers in the south tomorrow with Hobart reaching 18, 17 degrees in Huonville, Campania 19. Showers continuing in Launceston with a top of 19, Devonport and Georgetown both 17. 16 degrees in Burnie tomorrow, 18 and windy in Strawn, showers and 17 in Wynyard. And in the east, showers continuing with St Helens and Swansea both 19 and 17 in Port Arthur. And the UV tomorrow is high across the state. Looking on to Saturday, showers less frequent about the north. Showers about the west and far south on Sunday, mainly fine elsewhere. And on Monday, showers about the west and far south, extending statewide during the morning. 32 in Perth tomorrow, Adelaide 18, showers in Canberra and Sydney, and 34 in Darwin. And currently Hobart cloudy and 12 degrees, and Launceston and Devonport both cloudy and 14. And Kim, looks like the rain's going to continue.
All right, thank you very much, Chelsea. And that's all your news for now. Thanks for your company tonight. See you later.